All right, and we are recording. So, do we want to just talk about how awesome the movie we just saw was, or should I do my elaborate artsy intro involving 1990s anime?
Elaborate.
Okay.
I don't know. See, I felt like you were kind of reaching for the connection,
Yeah, okay.
right?
I can make
But-
an easier connection. Is middle-aged dudes love making movies to show their kids, see, I was right. Case in point, we just got out of F1, and it was a good time at the movies. 5 bags of popcorn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice way to get out of the heat.
It was. I'm glad they kept it a lot of racing in, and
Mhm.
it wasn't more plot driven, because I was at least entertained by cars going fast.
Yeah,
From
Yeah.
I mean it's Top Gun Maverick.
In cars.
In cars, quite literally, and so that was fun. Yeah, it also is. I love that this was someone who really cared about F1 because every time they did a cockpit shot, it looks like a oversized child in a go-kart. And that's probably what it looks like when you're driving an F1 car. So I'm glad they kept that realism in. But then did a green screen with Javier Bardem doing at a fireworks show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it had a great lesson.
What was the lesson?
Young people can learn from old people.
That's right. We can learn from middle-aged. First of all, it's great because I'm glad we have movie stars making divorce movies again and still being movie stars. Because someone who was in this movie and did not give a shit about it was Brad Pitt, and he had just enough charisma to keep me going.
Yeah. And there's a lot of boomer humor,
So much
which
fun.
our audience loved. They
Uh,
were living for those tweets and media's just noise jokes. And
as my favorite, I don't want to make it clear, we were also talking in the movie, so this is not a complaint that it happened, but I laughed hysterically when I heard the old woman behind me go oh, this is actually a good movie, it keeps your attention. Which, she had some good commentary, and then we stopped hearing her right around the time we figured out someone was sleeping behind us.
yeah.
See, I didn't hear the guy sleeping. I feel like I just have the ability just to filter out background noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely heard, but he did overlay in some of the quiet shots where you were is Brad Pitt breathing, meditating while driving?
Uh-huh.
Or is it the man behind me asleep?
I feel like it is the man behind you asleep, which I just feel is this just very I was born in the 1960s vibe that goes over the entire film, including I felt see, the film tries to trick you because the score was made by Hans Zimmer, but it is just the boomer version of the theme to Challengers. And you're wait, is this the theme to Challengers? And Challengers was very famously scored by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, and they make a very big deal that Hans Zimmer does the score, so you're no, I must be imagining it, but it is boomer Challengers opening theme.
And our lesson is we should actually respect the boomers and let them win.
Also, shout out to just art in Europe, because Javier Bardem brings the same amount of passion and energy and focus that he does to the role of Stilgar in the Dune trilogy. I didn't even know. And I do not know if that is an indictment of... I don't know whether that is Javier Bardem is amazing, because even when he gives up, he's amazing. See my 2 big Hollywood pictures. Or if he just has this work ethic of, I don't care, I'm going to bring everything to this role of... Oh my god, we literally got out of the movie 20 minutes ago and I cannot remember his name.
What was his name? Oh my god.
Ruben.
Oh, Ruben.
Yeah. Clearly
I thought Ruben was the old guy.
No, that was Sonny. You mean...
No, the old, head of the...
Oh, the Principal?
Yeah.
No. I do not know his name.
Were we given a name?
We were given... Here's the thing. We were given names, but there were so many that guys in that movie that I kind of just stopped paying attention, and I do not know the female lead's name. I just know it was played by amazing actress Carrie Condon. She played, not Agrippa, Octavia in Rome. So great actress. But because I could tell it was definitely like a nice paycheck movie for her, I was just like, oh, that's Carrie Condon.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think they all introduced themselves at the beginning of the movie, and by the end, I mean, there's not a lot of character development, so...
I will say my biggest criticism of the movie is that they did not do character development and really show how much Brad Pitt was a mentor to this young man. And I'm only focusing on that for storytelling purposes, and it is not because the man's mother was Jamaican, and I was really hoping we'd get a repeat of the scene from Meet Joe Black, where he speaks patois.
Yes.
To the dying grandmother.
That would be great.
So I wrote a dumb artsy thing that I probably put more work into than like a lot of the other things in the episode. But I do feel this is a better connection because it is just like boomers who just are making a movie, or not even boomers, but older Gen Xers who are just like, I'm going to make a movie about how I am right. And, you know, I would say we have, like, the good, the mediocre, and the, like, it's just, like, you do not talk to your children anymore. The good is obviously, and I think the epitome is Top Gun Maverick, where it is, like, the movie has a perfect ending of handing it over to the next generation of man accepting his fate in life, and then the movie just goes, nah, and then has Tom Cruise fight a bunch of Russian commandos and hijack a fighter plane, so he becomes the first ace since, like, the Vietnam War. And it's awesome still. Mediocre is this one, because it was just, like, okay, like, just a bunch of boomer slides and pretty typical movie. And the bad has to do with our actual topic today, which is, as I rewatched it and was telling Chris, oh my god, we didn't even introduce, this is American Dreamland, Max Chavez,
Misty Stone,
Christopher Walken.
So when Chris and I were watching this movie, I realized that this is actually a very seminal film for me, because I think this is what, for lack of a better term, just kind of black-pilled me into thinking, like, we are cooked. Like, there's no such thing as a normal conservative media figure. And I think this is the film that did it, because it is... We're doing the film Dreams from My Real Father, which is a documentary that came out right before the 2012...
Documentary in quotes.
Yeah, well, I'll get to that when we discuss it a little bit. But the quote-unquote documentary about the mysteries behind Barack Obama's origin. You see, it's not that he was just, you know, had a fairly unique circumstance that could only happen because of the unique role of America at the imperial core. No, it can't be that. It must be that he was secretly born in Kenya and raised by his family, because an old lady who didn't speak English made some kind of reference to being there for Obama's birth, even though it was like, no, I heard, when asked in her native language, she was like, no, I heard about him being born, I wasn't there. Instead, no, what is actually happening is Barack Obama is a natural-born American citizen, but his father is not Kenyan national Dr. Barack Hussein Obama. It is, in fact, one Frank Marshall Davis. And this truth was brought to us by one Joel Gilbert, who is like the most Gen X boomerline guy ever. He is a documentary filmmaker, musician.
Filmmaker in quotes.
Yeah. Musician, in quotes, and InfoWars guest, whose work has been described by the website DVD Talk as, quote, exhaustive and exhausting. An unexceptional, sometimes amateurish video production. And one would be hard-pressed to find a more irritatingly edited project when speaking of it. Not his work on the Barack Obama birth theory conspiracy. No, that is a documentary about his work on Bob Dylan, The Jesus Years, for the brief time when Bob Dylan was a supposed born-again Christian.
How much of a bump do you think Bob Dylan thought he was going to get for his career by converting to Christianity?
I mean, I do not think it was, like, so there's an old story. The guy who directed, who's a famous Seinfeld writer, he directed the Borat movie, the original one. He's a guy named Larry Charles. And I believe his first directing thing was this movie called Masked and Anonymous, which is a movie starring Bob Dylan and John Goodman. And it is about, like, rebel folk singers in a dystopian future who are having a marital spat with their wives while they're on tour or something. It is just a very bad... I haven't seen it, but I have heard very bad things about it. And I only bring this up is the meeting that he was going to have, Larry Charles, was Bob Dylan. It was obviously a creative force in the movie. He wanted to meet with all the directors. So Larry Charles is explaining what his meeting with Bob Dylan was like. And he basically said, like, first of all, his office is a gym in downtown Los Angeles, like an old boxing gym. Which is like, okay, like, whatever. And then he, like, goes, and then he's like, while they're having a meeting, he's like, hey, you want a drink? He's like, no, I'm okay. He's like, no, you should have a drink. We'll just send someone next door. He's like, okay, I'll have an iced coffee. And then the guy comes back with all the drinks, and Bob Dylan, there's only one iced coffee that is ordered. Bob Dylan grabs it and starts drinking it. And then when he says, Mr. Dylan, I think you're drinking my iced coffee, he goes like, you're a funny guy, that's why you got the job. And then he describes the pitch of how like Bob Dylan is just like a crazy semi-erratic version of himself, and he's talking to like HBO executives, and like he pitches it and everyone's like, we're great, Mr. Dylan, we are so happy to be in business with you, we cannot wait to make this movie. And then on the elevator ride down, Larry Charles just looks over and Bob Dylan just stops being energetic. He's just very sad inside. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. So Bob Dylan, this is a long way of saying Bob Dylan's just a strange dude. So I don't know why he did it. I think what it is that, like, there is a certain thing of, like, if you have a very old world immigrant experience or grow up in an ethnic conclave or enclave in, like, the middle of America, like, it's really dependent on whether you are from, like, how Americanized are your parents. Because Robert Zimmerman, or Bob Dylan born Robert Zimmerman, was just a Jew from Minneapolis who was just like, I got the soul music in me, I'm going to become a folk singer. And then obviously his parents were like, we don't think that's a good career option for you. And he's like, I'm going to run away to New York and do it anyway. And then he had like this weird disconnect. Whereas like the Coen brothers were like, also Jews from Minneapolis who were kind of off kilter. Their parents were just like, all right, go to film school because at least you're going to college. Like, and as a result, there's a lot more normalcy. You can understand the Coen brothers a little bit more as people. So yes,
I think I won't ever understand being the child of immigrant parents.
No, I would say. Well, that's the thing is. The Coen Brothers films don't really deal with that. Like, they are able to universalize it a lot, but, like, there is, obviously, like, there is no subtext in, like, A Serious Man, where it's just, like, it was weird to grow up in a mildly conservative Jewish household in the 60s, with just everything going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Joel Gilbert, he is a fascinating figure, and again, like the reason I said I threw out my artsy one is like he is just such a like Gen X boomer guy of just like doing like this thing of like doing the coolest thing ever. So let's get into Joel Gilbert. He is president of Highway 61 Entertainment and director of musical and political quote-unquote documentaries. And I'll go into that as his first work was about, like, he has made 3 types of music films. He's done multiple documentaries on, like, Bob Dylan, and all of that stuff. And that also has to do with what he calls his professional hobby, which is playing Bob Dylan with former Dylan band members in what he calls the world's only Bob Dylan tribute band.
Wow.
And this is per his biography that is posted on one Internet Movie Database.
Oh.
Would you like to guess who wrote his biography?
He did.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know this because I don't read a lot of biographies on IMDb, but like it says who wrote and submitted the biography in a person's thing. So that was fun. So yeah, he began his career in film about Bob Dylan during the Jesus years, but then he started to get into the world.
Did he feel betrayed when Bob Dylan like deconverted?
See, here is an interesting thing, is we can kind of get into this now, is they make reference in one of the biographies or info things about him is like, they make reference to the fact that Joel Gilbert was born Jewish in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but they make a big deal that he moved to Nashville and now lives in Los Angeles. And he has interviewed Jews for Jesus in his Bob Dylan documentary and does a lot of events at evangelical churches and is on a lot of evangelical like right-wing media. So
Can't escape the evangelicals.
there's a question of just the oversaturation in conservative media, or is what he might have no longer not Abrahamic Jewish beliefs.
So like I feel like we've touched on this sort of subject a lot. When we're looking at these conspiracies, like it just all seems to tie back to these weird evangelical end times shit.
Yes. Almost every one of them
It's insane.
Because even in our remote viewing and actually, they sneak into anything, or they start it.
Yeah, it's so well, that's the thing is, like the premise and thesis of this show is just the weird brain damage Americans have.
I feel like this end time shit. It could very well be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
No, for sure. Like,
yeah, they want us all to die.
No, if we listen, if we are to be damned in like a Fallout universe style, just a nuclear annihilation,
see, that's
it is
why
going
I think
to be.
We need to replace this with, like we've talked a lot about, like, oh, do you believe it, like, and when you ask me about this religious stuff, I'll say I'm 99% just your bog standard materialist. But like when I get 100%, I just go full doomer. And you can't go full doomer.
You cannot go full doomer. Insert here the clip of Robert Downey Jr. Giving a speech from Tropic Thunder. Yeah, no, what it is this basically started with like, there is so much of just this like America relying on this frontier and otherization that like as soon as that started to not be as much of a thing, because like after the Louisiana Purchase, like there was still obviously the frontier, colonialism and imperialism, but like we didn't just through exploration and like getting on the world stage. Like there was just Mexico there, and like we had to fight we gained territory through traditional warfare. So like that was kind of like we needed a new other, and then you start to have things like the first third party in the United States, the anti-Masonic Party, because then the other was the Masons, and then you have your classic, you know, Red Scares, to make it kind of like communism or whatever. And then, like, when you're in the 70s, you have this weird thing of, like, a more kind of detente with the Soviet Union, especially compared to the 60s. And then you have just the use of the evangelical community as a political force. Like, they were just like, we've explored the whole world. We're on our way to becoming the sole superpower now. Like, I guess the devil, that's the other now.
Well, my point is, I feel like there's the worldview of Stan Johnson. Just imagines a world where there was a species that already went through nuclear annihilation, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that the Sasquatch care about whatever was caused the nuclear war?
I feel like they have to care, right? Like, because I feel like Stan was saying they're trying to help us, right? They're trying to warn us. Because they almost annihilated themselves, and now look at them. Their numbers reduced. Hiding out on a foreign planet.
I feel like the Sasquatch would care, but in a way of like Ron Chernow versus like the musical Hamilton, whereas like Ron Chernow was like, I want to look at like something that was actually pivotal to understand the world we live in and the kind of ramifications of like us at hinge points, which I think is what a lot of historical study is. Whereas Hamilton is just like the liberal version of like weird conservative constitutionalism of just like, look at us.
The Constitution.
The Constitution. Here's the thing: is conservative. Everyone is a liberal, as Chapo likes to say, and I completely agree that like for conservatives it's like constitutionalism and the founders, whereas like libs it's just like the central
libs
bank.
Also fetishized the Constitution.
They fetishized the Constitution because it created institutions and things like that. Because they worship institutions, whereas like conservatives like old things that they can yell and get indignant about.
Right.
So that brings so as Joel Gilbert does this is so he made these Bob Dylan documentaries, and then he made musical conspiracies. And he made his first two things, which is one where it is a story of an actor pretending to be George Harrison on his deathbed, explaining how Paul McCartney actually died. Paul is actually indeed dead. And this was him reciting the evidence and why they made that choice. And then he made another similar film, which was an actor who was professed to be Elvis, who said that Elvis faked his death so he could become an undercover agent and fight anti-American forces and the Italian mafia.
He's not just living out on an island somewhere?
I was like, why would you fake your death? Why would you, the most famous person on Earth, fake your death to become an undercover agent?
Yeah. I like the idea that they're all on some island together, like him, Michael Jackson.
Tupac. Elvis is probably dead now, just because of natural causes.
Yes.
Do you think he got to meet Tupac?
Mm-hmm. I like to think so, on the island.
Mm-hmm. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice for them to meet.
Which I also just want to say is, because I just noticed, is like the directors of the I'm not going to name them because I didn't look it up, and I'm going to say something mean that I know they didn't do, but like the directors of the amazing documentary about Robert Evans' life, The Kid Stays in the Picture, are like the Oppenheimer of documentary filmmakers. Is they make this one stunning achievement, and then like so many bad documentaries are just like found footage and pictures of like someone giving first person narration, like in that movie. And like The Kid Stays in the Picture was the first movie to do that, and there are so many shitty movies that copy that. Including these documentaries, which in 2012 were later reclassified as mockumentaries. Which I don't know what Joel Gilbert is trying to get at, But yeah, so he's made a number of other bog standard conservative political documentaries about Iran, the evils of socialism, the race hustlers behind Trayvon Martin, and the secret plan to make Michelle Obama the Democratic nominee in 2024.
Oh, that didn't happen.
No, I know.
You missed that.
It's so funny is, like, there's always these, like...
He wished that would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always this, like, I feel like every 10 years or so, there is this just, like, weird conservative documentary that just becomes this sacrosanct idea that, like, this is absolutely going to happen, and then the just reality completely undermines them in every way, and then they just pretend like it never happened. Like, I remember so many people talking, like, up until literally the Iowa caucus about how Senator Hillary Clinton was going to sneak in and secretly become the Democratic nominee, and then she just didn't run until 2008, and then they were just like, we never said Hillary was going to run before 2008. Yeah. And then, another Hillary thing was... just like, oh, she's gonna do all these, like, dirty tricks and blah 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 and, like, this terrible thing, and then, like, Trump somehow won, and they're like, yeah, we never thought that, what are you talking about, we always believed in this guy. And then, yeah, everyone was always like there was gonna be this huge conspiracy to, like, replace Joe Biden. And then when Joe Biden then announced, like, re-election, like, I think the consensus was that either Joe Biden is going to be the Democratic nominee, or just for logistical purposes, Harris is going to be the nominee.
Yeah.
Because she's the vice president. Like, it seems like an easy switch, which is what ended up happening.
Yeah. Yeah. They do tend to... There is that constant thing with conservatives where if something doesn't happen, it gets quiet. They stop talking about it.
Yeah, he's also done some activism, such as promoting the case of Danny Williams. He made an infomercial video. For those of you who don't know, Danny Williams, I forget if I wrote his name down wrong, and I'm not going to check because I don't want to give this man credit. He claimed that Bill Clinton was his father.
That guy.
Yeah, and he asked Barack Obama because, quote, you said you believe Black Lives Matter. And my Black Lives Matter. So make Bill Clinton take a blood test to prove that he's my father. And he kept referring to Hillary as his stepmother.
I don't think that's how that works.
I don't want to get involved, but yeah. So there's that. And then his most recent work is he made a documentary about Roseanne Barr, her side of the story, after the cancellation.
Hell yeah. That's sick.
Yeah. It's... Which I just now realize, literally in this moment, that there is a good chance that one of my favorite political videos of all time was filmed by Joel Gilbert. Because, if you remember, there was this story about RFK Jr. dumping a bear in Central Park in 2014.
Yep.
And then... like, it got leaked on Twitter that New York Magazine was going to write an article about it. And then apparently they asked Kennedy for comment. So his response was just to go to lunch with Roseanne Barr and then proceed to tell her a story that was so much worse than what he was accused of. And she's just sitting there with, like, a cup of coffee going, okay. And yeah, I was like, why are there so many cameras here? So that might have been Joel Gilbert. Yeah, so that's great. But yes, he also has a tradition of far-right commentary that has, like, a few unorthodox views. Specifically is his documentary, Dreams from My Real Father, in which he professes that Barack Obama's real father is not Barack Obama, but instead Frank Marshall Davis. And he uses a lot of pictures of, don't these guys look alike? Which, first of all, they don't. And as I was telling Chris, it's like, the characters in Game of Thrones have a better understanding of Mendelian genetics than these people do. Because at least in Game of Thrones, it's like, multiple generations produce this result, so there must be some kind of trait. Whereas this is just like, two light-skinned black people. Don't they look like they're related? They both have teeth. It's like, yeah, okay. That's just what he's going through, and it's really him going through these elaborate things just to get to like the most boring conservative point. And I do want to talk about how his views are unorthodox. I briefly want to talk about birtherism. So it's this conspiracy theory that Barack Obama was not born in Hawaii in 1961. It was an elaborate conspiracy to fake his American citizenship because he was actually born in Kenya or Indonesia. And that's usually the kind of thing that's because, obviously, his father was a Kenyan national at the time. And in his youth, he recounts that because his mother later married an Indonesian national, that they lived in Jakarta, in Indonesia for some time. So then they're like, why does he have these records in Indonesia? It's like, because he was a child in school. So what do you guys remember, like, what do you remember about birtherism? Because I was, like, very much, like, this is when I really started my, like, attempting to make my job actually researching these conspiracy theories and fringe politics. I want to say they were at their height when I was, like, a sophomore in college. So, like, I was just the classic politics lib nerd who was like, I gotta research this. But everyone was just like, oh, we're gonna say why Obamacare is good. And I was like, I want to just explore what crazy people are saying on the internet.
I definitely wasn't into that. Like, my parents are just your basic Democrat. And so, like, the whole birtherism, we just heard that. I'm just like, why is it, even if it was true, why does it matter?
Yeah, I remember it would have started middle school to high school for me. And I just remember it being constant, like, on conservative media, and I'm sure my crazy uncle made me listen to his theories about it. But it was everywhere.
Yeah.
For a while.
It was
constant, like...
It was this thing. It was like, I think this was like, because they spent all of their energy in 2008 on Hillary. And then, like, when that obviously fizzled out because she didn't end up being the nominee or even on the ticket, then it's like, I don't know, whatever. And then, you know, the subprime mortgage crisis happened, which was like, no Republican was going to ever win that election. But so then this was their, like, what all of the energy was towards, like, the equivalent of, like, trying to swift boat Kerry in 2004. And yeah, so I just want to say that I wanted just a little bit. So it was this thing, and it was really an idea that was promoted and was this, like, cause de célèbre among, like, the craziest right-wing people. Like, basically the version of, like, not the Ben Shapiro and, like, somewhat reputable people. Like, I'm talking about, like
conservative talk radio.
I'm talking, this was, like, the people who were beyond conservative talk radio. So, like, basically, like, the Alex Jones, though he was kind of a contemporary of theirs, more like, I guess, Nick Fuentes, this person who's just, like, kind of on the fringe.
Nick Fuentes?
Oh, for sure, because they're not, like, Nazis. They're just, like, that level of, like, psychotic and on the fringe. And I only want to talk about it briefly because just both of these people absolutely deserve their own dedicated episode. But, like, two of the biggest proponents of this, the first was one, Joseph Farah, who is the editor-in-chief of World's Net Daily, which is the most boomer-ass website that, like, constantly when you, like, click on it, asks you to join and donate. Their slogan is a free press for free people. It was, like, the first real uniquely online, like, news site, and this dude is just, like, a wild, radical, like, evangelical Christian who previously, he's probably his biggest claim to fame is he was editor of a newspaper in Sacramento when Rush Limbaugh was getting his start as a national talk radio host. So he ghost co-wrote Rush Limbaugh's books for a while. Mm-hmm.
My great uncle was buried with those books.
Cool. I don't know how to respond to that. And yeah, he's like the reason why, like not the reason, but like a huge like fermenter of like almost like pre-Q every right-wing conspiracy theory to become official either had to pass through InfoWars or WorldNet Daily. So yeah, he's partially responsible for Limbaugh's success in a lot of ways. And he had this huge campaign of like of billboards across the country asking, where's the birth certificate? Trying to do that, just trying to expose the like Islamist origins. And the other one, who I'll talk a little bit more about because she probably deserves her episode, but I don't know how easy it would be or the interest. But this woman named Orly Tates, who is an Israeli-American dentist, lawyer, politician, polyglot, second-degree black belt in Taekwondo, and former real estate agent.
Oh.
And yes. This is great, and she is just like the classic, just like insane Orange County mom.
Okay.
People who grew up in Los Angeles and Orange County know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Of just her being like hyper and doing all of these things and she's like claimed that she like had this secret. So she like was the primary lawyer who was filing all these lawsuits that says Barack Obama can't be president because he's not a natural born citizen. And she would say this is because, like, I know this because I went through the immigrant. I don't know why she did it, but she kept, like, saying she was a lawyer, and I guess she passed the bar. But the other thing that I just find, which is just, like, they cannot help but, like, psychotically praise themselves and, like, are so... Again, everyone is a liberal. They're all about credentials. So, when I was looking her up, I mentioned she's a polyglot, and she can speak, like, 5 or 6 languages fluently, apparently. Like, English, Hebrew, a bunch of things. But what I wanted to note is every time she is recorded listing the languages she speaks, she lists both Romanian and Moldovan. So, shout out to my linguist friends. I don't know if this is actually like, I'm not gonna say this, but like from what I read is linguists assume, or the view of linguists is that there's no difference between the Romanian and Moldovan language. Oh. It is purely a like political distinction of like we speak the same language, but we have these things with national identity. So it's a political classification rather than like, you know, when you differentiate between, you know, French and Portuguese, it's like
they're intelligible.
It's not just that they are intelligible; it is that they are the same language, apparently. Okay. Like, it's not like, oh, you know, Portuguese grammar is this and French grammar is like this. It's like, no, it's the same grammar because it's the same language. But she always lists them separately, and it's like, you already speak 6 languages. Like, that's impressive. Like, why are you doing this? Yeah. But yeah, so that brings us to the film. And, oh man, this is just like the biggest brain thing ever. It's just like, this is the biggest like cope of like, how do I make all of these things work? Because you want to believe that Barack Obama, if you're like a 2010 conservative, you want to believe Obama is this like evil foreign threat that is trying to destroy you, and America is good and deserves better. But then if America is good and has these things in place, well, how did we let this evil foreigner become president? Joel Gilbert is here to say that he is an American citizen. And the reason he didn't have his birth certificate is because his father is one Frank Marshall Davis, famous communist organizer and writer. He wrote multiple volumes of poetry, and grew up in Hawaii. And just a couple things I want to say, like at the start of the movie, is I mentioned the kid stays in the picture. It is a voiceover by someone pretending to be Obama, and it is the most white guy Obama impression I have ever heard.
It's the worst. Like, it's barely an Obama impression.
It's barely an Obama impression. It is clearly a Caucasian doing this. Like, Josh Shapiro does a better Obama impersonation than the guy who narrates this movie. And then it's based on actual events, but contains a recreation of probable depictions of those events. Because, like, it's, like... Which is an interesting thing, because obviously it's like, how would Barack Obama know a fight his mom and grandpa had as if he was there? So, like, artistic license about how Gramps was actually in the CIA.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
And he just pretended to be a furniture salesman. And, like, I looked this up, and apparently the evidence that people keep pointing to of why Obama's great... Because that was another conspiracy. That, like, I always, like... My recollection of it was, and this is, like, why I say this apparently was a seminal film, was, like, I actually did look it up after I watched the movie this time. Like, his grandpa was literally just, like, a furniture salesman, like, for his entire working life, and then, like, you know, got one last job in Hawaii and retired there. And I always thought that, like, because I saw this movie, and didn't know anything about Barack Obama's grandpa, I just assumed his grandpa worked for, like, the State Department briefly or something, and it was just, like, exaggerate. No, like, the purported evidence is, like, well, why was Barack Obama's mom in Beirut in the late 1950s? And it's like, oh, there's an answer to that. She wasn't, because the family never lived in Beirut.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's this weird thing, and it's basically... that they have to do this thing, and they had to fake it because since Grandpa was in the CIA, it would look really bad if his rebellious teenage daughter got impregnated by a communist with an FBI file that was 600 pages long. Because it's not like the FBI just had one of those on every single communist, or every single professed communist in the 20th century.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We're really jumping.
There's
a lot.
We're
so
really
much.
reaching.
Oh, it's all of this, and yeah, and there's a lot of other things. Like, they make a big deal of the phenomenon of red diaper babies, which is like, I'm a red diaper baby. I was secretly raised by a communist, which is like, that's not what it actually is. Red diaper baby is basically someone who's involved in politics whose parents were at one point members of the Communist Party of America. Which is, like, probably 30% of, like, all voters during the Great Depression or something. Like, and a lot of these people, either they themselves have, like, rejected their parents' views. David Horowitz is probably the most famous one of those. Or, like, their parents just, like, became, like, Republicans or something. Like, I think William Crystal's parents were briefly communists or something.
Just like how ubiquitous, like, the Communist Party was, like, around the time of the Second World War. Like, my grandpa tells stories about how his dad would take the family to these, like movie nights that were put on by the local Communist Party. And this is, like, a nowhere town in, like, northern California.
Yeah, so...
They
were around. It was a thing. But there's some fun little things of, like, they show book titles of, like, how to teach Marxism to kids. He was a defender of... Because I guess Davis was a Stalinist.
Oh.
So,
cool.
I mean, to be fair, like, this is based on what Joel Gilbert is saying, which I don't think he understands these distinctions. And it's like, he was a Stalinist. As, like, because he, like, was supporting the Soviet Union and may have done a slight degree of Stalin apologia, like a lot of communists at the time.
Yeah.
Stalin, who he calls Uncle Joe.
Not Uncle Joe.
Yeah, and the movie starts with, like, a biography of Frank Marshall Davis and of Obama's mother, Stanley Ann Durham, and it, like, it tells this elaborate story about, like, and it tries to, like, make you think Obama is evil, because, as Chris and I determined, the description of Frank Marshall Davis is, like, the coolest dude ever.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a classic, like, conservatives trying to scare you by talking about the coolest thing or, like, person ever.
Like,
I see.
He was, like, a teacher at the Abraham Lincoln School in Chicago.
Okay.
Like, he was, like, he's just like, oh, this guy? he had a column in the Honolulu Star where he would just review jazz and make threats against the U.S. government.
It's like, honestly.
Yeah,
that's fun.
That's so cool.
I'd read that. That's fun.
So it's just like the coolest guy ever, and it's like, he's like, Dad was a swinger. Here, look, swinging. Look at all these erotic pictures he took.
Were they erotic?
I guess, I don't know. It was these old, like, black and white, and then there's just these, like, the most unerotic censoring of just giant black bar over things that's way oversized, but also tries to do it where it's like, oh, we want to show you a little something.
So we don't fully know how erotic these... They're too censored.
There's clear up and down shots, so...
Okay.
Yeah. Like, it, but yeah, so it's like, Dad was a poet, and then the poem they show twice is it's like, stealing from the fists of the money drunk, which is kind of like bars. One of the things they have in common is like, I smoke just like Dad. And it's like, and here's the thing, is like, they can't even do the due diligence to find a picture of Obama smoking. It's just like, oh yeah, he mentioned he used to smoke in the 90s. They just describe Frank Marshall Davis as the coolest guy ever, who just like is like taking boudoir photographs of things, and then he writes a book about he has sex poetry, like he's poems, and then was it a book of sex poetry or was it just like a novel of sexual things?
I feel like at that time a lot of academics like, I'm just gonna put sex in whatever I'm doing because
academics in air quotes.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was a jazz critic who's like, the movie makes a big deal. It's like, he was always around the college. It's like, I actually do believe that because he's absolutely the kind of creepy guy who's just going to be like, I'm an intellectual. How you doing, college girls?
Yeah, always looking for a young college girl.
Yeah, I'm a poet. Would you like to listen to a jazz record? What's weird is, like, that part is the same in the 1960s or the 2020s. The only difference is instead of, like, let me introduce you to wine, it's like, I got a case of Smirnoff Ice for you.
Yeah.
So they just describe it as the cool thing ever, and I realized that they don't actually say, like, they're describing he's like, oh, he's sexually adventurous and everything, and the only thing they show from his book about sex is the statement that I am bisexual. But they never say that he is bisexual, which I find very funny. Of like, they're like, look at his depravity, but we're not gonna say what the depravity is.
We're just gonna like briefly show you.
Briefly show a sentence that says I am a bisexual, completely removed from context.
You think they'd really hammer that point home?
I mean, then they'd have to talk about it, which I think would make them more uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. And probably because they're suppressing.
Yeah, and then we find out about Obama's mom's story, which is that she was just Frank Reynolds' voice, a giant hula.
Damn.
Like, it's just like, they show, like, it's great as they show some of the pictures that supposedly Frank Marshall Davis, like, took of her. It's like, look, Obama's mom took teenage sex photos. And then they do the thing that completely undermines their argument, which is they show these pictures, which they purport to be real, and then they show a picture of Barack Obama's mom, and the women look nothing alike. It's like, yeah, they're both brunettes, I guess, but they're different women. Also, just a fun fact is, like, he keeps saying, like, Frank Marshall Davis exclusively refers to Obama's mom as Anne. And apparently, at the time that Davis would have supposedly met and impregnated her, she actually went by Stanley, because her birth name was Stanley Ann Durham, because she was born when her father was, like, deployed to Normandy. So they were going to name the child Stanley no matter what, in case dad died in war.
Yeah.
Because Americans were normal in the 40s. And then, so, like, when she was being slightly rebellious, she would introduce herself as Stanley. Okay. So, like, this is a time in her life where she would not have gone by Anne, which is...
Yeah.
Like, you think a very simple thing if you're actually doing research to find.
Yeah, and to make it more believable. But that's not what conservatives don't care about believability.
But no, so his mom was a hua. And there's so much things of, like, pictures going, like, I got my dad's nose and all of this. And, like I said, like, Game of Thrones has a better understanding of genetics. Like, the scene where he finds out Joffrey's a bastard. Because it is just, like, it's just, yeah, okay. Like, he's like, I got a mole, just like my dad. And then they show the most, like, freckled man in his 80s I've ever seen. And it's like, so one guy has a mole and a dude has a million freckles. Like, that's different.
They're the same thing.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's like, I got a deep voice, just like my dad. And it's like, voice isn't genetic. It's wild. And then, of course, I think, like, at least it's like, okay, at least they're different people, so obviously there are going to be differences. But just here's two completely different women. Just, see, this proves it. So, the thesis is that, because Obama's grandpa was a CIA agent, he doesn't want to lose his clearance. So... basically, the argument is that Barack Obama's professed father, the goat herder from Kenya, was part of, like, I forget if they say the name or whatever, and I'm sure it's basically a School of the Americas type thing, where it's, like, a bunch of these, like, newly independent nations that have strong communist parties. It's like, all right, we're going to bring a bunch of you over so you become the new middle class for your country and then do intelligence murders for us type of thing. Like, they implied it was that, and basically what happens is...
That reminds me of that book about Vietnam. Or it wasn't it was like historical fiction.
Oh my god, it was that, they did an HBO miniseries with Robert Downey Jr. Oh, The Sympathizer.
Yes, The Sympathizer. The sympathizer.
Yeah. That kind of thing. So then he just goes and it's like, hey, you know, if you marry a white woman, they'll let you get a PhD at Harvard. Or he'll get to stay in the country and apply to Harvard or whatever. He's like, but I have a family. And it's like, we'll just do... And it's just like this whole elaborate thing of, like, they just trick this guy so he can get a PhD in America before he goes home. And it's like, all of these things. And then... It's just so weird. It's also, he will never give up a chance to say Obama is an affirmative action hire. Because when asked, like, wait, if this man knew he was going to abandon this child and not be a part of his life because it was just a deal, why did he meet Barack Obama when he was 10 years old? An event that Obama writes about, and then... like, there's a lot of documented evidence. So he said, like, Obama got into this elite prep school on a scholarship because of affirmative action. But we needed to show that he had a black parent or something, so, like, they flew him out to Hawaii to pretend to be his...
okay.
It's like, it thinks it's so clever because it's just like, I found this thing, and then it's like... okay, like, what does this matter? And it basically, so, it's all of this thing, and it eventually just boils down to is, it really starts to slow down once it gets to Obama's college years, because he basically says that I found out Frank Marshall Davis was my father, and then my father said, like, you'll never have power as Frank Marshall Davis Jr., but you might as Barack Hussein Obama II, because he's African, you see, because white folks like foreigners better or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't think... That doesn't seem to be the case.
I know, but...
in this country.
Also, a great line is, it's like, I profess to be a symptom of oppression, even though I never personally experienced racism myself. Which is like, I do not believe that a man named Barack Hussein Obama never experienced racism at one point in his life. before he went to Columbia University.
It never happened.
I mean, I don't want to, like, oversell it, but, like, I've been the victim of racism. And, like, I'm sorry, but, like, I could talk about, like, bullying and stuff, but, like, I'll just say, like, when I was, like, 19 and working, like, the midnight shift at the campus convenience store, like, my first night working there, a black guy called me the N-word. And it was complimentary, yes. But I'm just thinking, if by the age of 19, I have been called the N-word, I'm pretty sure Barack Obama in the 80s probably heard it a few times. Especially living in Southern California.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no way he didn't.
I mean, Ving Rhames famously has a story about how he was never called the N-word until he moved to Los Angeles. And then he was driving on the freeway and some white girls cut him off and called him the N-word.
Where did he move from?
I don't know. I don't know. That's like, and even that, it's like, he just wasn't called a word. He's not saying he never experienced racism when he was growing up. But yeah, it's just like, it goes through all of this thing of, like, elaborate things, his ties in. Apparently, like, there was this elaborate conspiracy because he was briefly had an acquaintance with Bill Ayers, one of the members of the Weather Underground, whose dad was, like, an important figure in Chicago politics. It's like, it's a conspiracy where we can use a black Marxist to, like, recruit other Marxists into things. And it really is like, even though I had really bad grades, I was able to go to Harvard Law School. What's also great is he says, like, I got the easiest degree possible, political science. And then he's like, he keeps mentioning, it's like, I was editor at the Harvard Law Review, even though I never wrote a single article. And I admit I do not know how a law journal works, or a college law journal, but it's like, I'm not surprised an editor would have never written an article, because from my understanding, an editor edits pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's doing all this editing, like, why would he write?
Yeah, like, I don't know if it's like, I don't know how law journals work. Like, I would say that, like, you know, other academic journals, even if you are an editor, you are writing and publishing, but typically not in the journal you are an editor for. Unless it's like a editorial or essay or something. So, like, I guess that, but it is also like, I don't know, he's also a law student, not a lawyer or a researcher. Like, it's so disappointing because after they basically say that Obama didn't write his book, Bill Ayers did, which is my favorite kind of evidence of, like, look at this person who we've established is a total fraud. Now, we're going to support this outrageous claim, and our only evidence is this outrageous fraud saying it. Because the sole evidence that Bill Ayers wrote it is, like, there's one time at a convention where he's like, someone's like, oh yeah, I wrote that book. And it's like, yes, I believe a rich middle-class kid who was in the Weather Underground would lie about writing something to get attention.
Yeah.
So it's just so much just becomes this anti-affirmative action thing. And then the ultimate point that comes down to it is just ultimately just the most boring traditional, like, 2012 attacks on Obama. Did you know he was friends with Tony Rezko? And David Axel...
and then Reverend Wright.
Oh, God, the Reverend Wright stuff was just, like... First of all, it's, like, it does this great thing of, like, suburban white conservatives who are just, like, I've heard a slang term, and this is new to me, so I'm going to shock at all of you. It's like, look, here's Obama admitting his voice is fake. And it's like an interview of him like, yeah, no, when I became a community organizer, I had trouble getting people's attention, so I had to learn how to use the black preacher voice. And it's like, see?
Like, to Joel Gilbert's credit, he did find, like, I feel like the worst version of Obama doing the preacher voice to put in the documentary.
Yeah, he's very bad at it. Another great thing is he's Schrodinger's. This whole thing is the Schrodinger's birtherism, because he's also he's an American citizen who was raised and taught by a communist, but also he's a Muslim because according to Islamic law, you're a Muslim if your father's a Muslim, and his stepdad, I guess, was a Muslim? I actually don't know. It's just he went to madrasa, which is an Islamic school, when he was living in Indonesia. But I will just also say, like, you know, I would not be, like, you have an American wife, you're probably of some means, at least in Indonesia. Like, you're just sending your kids to the nice private school. And I know that this is true, because where I grew up, there was this private school, like the private school for like us middle class kids or things was called Chaminade. And I met these kids because I did, you know, public park soccer with them when I was a kid. And all of the kids I know who went to Chaminade were Jewish. And it's just like, okay, it's a private school, and my Jewish friends just happened to go there.
Yeah.
Cut to me in 9th grade. I'm at a debate tournament. It is at Chaminade High School. Cool. Whatever. I'm there. I'm in a debate round. I'm giving my speech. And then I pause because I see a giant crucifix in the back of the classroom. That's when I learned Chaminade was a private Catholic school.
Yeah, my mom also, when my grandma moved them to LA, hated the public LA schools, and my grandma sent her to a private Catholic school.
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
People just send their kids to nice schools.
Yeah, because I think in the 80s my mom didn't love the public schools.
You know, shout out LAUSD. You briefly had a superintendent who was just called the Admiral, which just fits in the dystopia we live in now. Who's in charge of the schools? The Admiral. But yeah, it goes all this way to just make like the most boring ass, if you were aware of the 2012 election, like the most boring ass Obama attacks. Like the Reverend Wright stuff is great because it is like, it is actually a really interesting point to attack Obama on, about how he's like, they're like, wait, so you never heard him say this type of stuff? And he's like, no, he didn't say it when I was there and I would have left. And it's like, that's just like, call him out on like, he's just in this church for like political convenience in his community. Like, it's like, oh, you're lying about your, that's another thing, is like, they can't, about these like weird Christian death cults, is like they have such a ingrained Christian worldview that like they cannot imagine like people would not consider it. Like, oh, Obama's not a Christian, he must be a secret Muslim working against us. Not like, I would not be surprised if you told me Barack Obama has actually spent zero time thinking about the concept of God and an afterlife. I would not be surprised. He was just like, I have ambition, I'm going to fulfill it, and this is an organization that will ingrain me with the community and A, help me at my job and career, and B, let me have social access to influential people in the community.
Yeah. Which is a normal thing that a lot of politicians do.
And it is another thing of like just this like complete lack of understanding that so many right wingers have, probably because they have this like Manichaean view of like of just like they can't understand compromise or just like people in the middle. Like a good example of that is the only man who's ever beaten Barack Obama in an election, former Black Panther Bobby Rush, who was just like a like literally radical in the 1960s, like a very important figure in the Chicago Black Panthers from what I understand. And like his entire career is he's just like, he's a beloved figure because he's slightly less corrupt than a typical Chicago alderman, and like voted just along Bill Clinton lines his entire like 30 years in Congress of just like, what is the most moderate Democrat take to have? And it's just like, yeah, he did that because he's like, man, if I just am kind of middle ground and just like help support people with money, I get to live a really comfortable life.
Yeah.
Like, and they can't understand like people would do that, or like take the path of least resistance. Just his I I think what disappoints me most is it will do these weird things to like allude to conspiracy theories that are a bit more untoward, but it won't admit to them. As we talked about in a previous episode, there's the famous Larry Sinclair incident, which was a man who claimed to perform intense oral sex on Barack Obama while he was a state senator, and he smoked crack. But, so, like, there's that, and an adjacent part of that conspiracy was that Obama was gay married to his Pakistani college roommate. And there is a prominent showing of a picture of Obama with his Pakistani roommate, and they look like, you know, a very typical early 90s gay couple.
Nice.
And it just kind of alludes to that. And then it says Obama's like, I married my dad when I met Michelle.
Well, I think he was trying to be metaphorical, but he just...
He's a conservative, so it had to be psychosexual.
Yes. Right. Mm-hmm.
It's like, I married someone Dad would be proud of. Like, no, I married my father.
Right. And then there was the whole Michelle Obama is actually a man.
Yeah.
That went on.
Which, I just want to say, I want to end on something that I've watched this film more times than I care to admit, but something I've learned, and that something is, it is actually incredibly easy to have a press conference at the National Press Club. I thought you had to be, like, invited there or, like, special events. It has to just be a ballroom that you can rent out. And I say this because the Larry Sinclair, his big revelations came out at a press conference at the National Press Club. And then Joel Gilbert has done, like, 9 different press conferences there to, like, promote his weird films and conspiracy theories. So, like, at a certain point, it's like, you are just renting out this space.
They take the time, the very, like, dead of night time slots. Like, oh,
Yeah.
can we come in there at, like, 1 in the morning?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And do our thing. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Sure, you're giving us money. We're not gonna
Yeah, it's also is, I love how every time he's there, he also insults the mainstream press, because he's like, you don't follow the journalistic credence like I do. In fact, here's a tip. This is a great thing of just, like, his own sense of importance. Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned his Bob Dylan cover band. He plays Bob Dylan.
Oh.
So he just pretends to be Bob Dylan. But ultimately that comes down to him saying that, like, if any reporter wants to win a Pulitzer Prize, all you have to do is write an article about my movie. Because the relations are so shocking and mind-blowing.
So shocking.
Yeah.
That we're talking about them in 2025.
I mean, it's just... It also goes to, like, the conservative mindset of, like, they cannot give anything up.
No, they hold on to it.
Like, I feel this movie came out, when, like, after he released the long form. So, like, this is, like, a backup to try and explain it. Of, like, no, we're not stupid. It was actually this insane thing. It is also just, like, again, we talked about this a little bit in our last episode about, like, how, like, you can only do this, like, because a lot of these people who do this grift are, like, kind of stupid, they, like, eventually get caught up and, like, they cannot just, like, draw a line and, like, go, like, I'm going to protect myself. Like, they just get swept up in it. And the thing for this was, I just want to end on Joel Gilbert, 3 years after this movie came out, would not let it go. So he had an interview over Skype with Malik Obama, who is Barack Obama's half-brother. And it was basically a 15-minute interview where it's just like Malik going, yes, Barack Obama is terrible. And, like, we used to get along, but, like, he didn't pay as much attention to me as I wanted at his inauguration that you were invited to. And then it's like, yeah, when our aunt died, like, I called him up for help when he was president. And he's like, what do you need? And I said, we need $20,000 to get her back to Kenya. And he's like, I'm not giving you $20,000. And it's like, doesn't that show he's evil? And I'm like, does it? Like,
does it?
I figure, this is me not knowing, like, I figure if I call a powerful government official to help with getting my aunt's body back to Kenya, it'd be like getting permission through customs or whatever. Not like, give me money.
Yeah, or maybe paying the direct person.
Yeah.
If you guys don't have a good relationship, maybe he didn't trust what Malik was going to do.
I mean, that's entirely possible.
With 20 grand.
A man you said that you've only met 5 times in your life.
Yeah, maybe I would say if I was Barack Obama, I would go, I will pay the direct bill to do it. I'll organize it. I'll help you with the customs because I'm
the president.
The president.
Yeah.
And I care. But I'm not going to hand you $20,000.
What's also great is he cannot just say, man, Barack Obama's a shitty person. Joel Gilbert then says, like, so did you see my movie about your brother? Alleged brother. Mm-hmm. And then he's just like, oh yeah, I saw it. Very convincing evidence. It would make sense that he was just using this as a lie. It's like, what is going on here?
Do we think he paid Malik?
Probably.
How much do you think he paid?
See,
I would have to know Malik's financial situation to answer that question.
Not great, according to Malik. He lives in poverty in Kenya, allegedly.
So, probably not that much.
So yeah, it might not have been that he might not have been that costly.
Well, did you ever think that he was doing the thing, which is what my friend, the story or metaphor that business schools do, is because one of my best friends, it doesn't, now he has, congratulations on your MBA. I won't say your name because I'm sure you don't want to be associated with this, but he just got his MBA, and back in undergrad when he got his BA in business, he was like, no, actually, we can't pay people in sweatshops a lot of money, because if one sweatshop just starts paying a lot of people, then they'll do violence in the community so that they can get the jobs that pay more. And I'm like, that's what they were taught. And I'm just like, what? And he's just like, yeah. It's like, I guess I get the logic, but there's so many layers of us doing horrible things to get to that point.
Right.
So yeah, so maybe he's like, he didn't pay him a lot, but he didn't want to make him a target in Kenya.
True.
Okay, now I'm just gonna end, this is just, we're just rambling. So 2 things that annoyed me about the movie F1 most. One is there's a scene where Brad Pitt and Carrie Condon are drinking beer, and it kept pissing me off because there was absolutely no kind of consistency to how much beer was in their glasses.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, I do not care about this stuff, but it was disturbingly bad. Like, they would show a character just drink half a glass of beer, and then they cut and they put their beer down, and it's like, it was completely full.
Yeah, they weren't watching their continuity errors.
Not at all. That, and then also, Brad Pitt's character, spoiler alert for the movie F1, Brad Pitt's character makes a bet with an annoying British guy, $10,000, that he can get first place in the last race of the season. Mm-hmm. And then there's a scene where he gives him $10,000 because he's like, I'm gonna let the young whippersnapper win. But then it turns out he actually does get first place in the final Grand Prix. So it's like, no, the British guy now owes him $10,000.
Yeah.
$20,000.
No, it would be 10.
Yeah, £10.
Oh, it was only £10? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was just a weird thing to randomly include it and just be like, he should get his money back.
He should. He won.
Also, dudes love dune buggies because the movie just ends with Brad Pitt in a dune buggy.
I was really hoping he'd win and then he'd go blind, his health things indicated, and then he would just become a mentor to the team.
One of the million amazing movie ideas I have, but will not happen because of my lack of talent, and also just the premise is so weird and niche. But I want to re-envision this movie where Brad Pitt does win the Grand Prix, but he dies of an aneurysm or something while he's driving, yes. And then the sequel is just like whatever poor State Department bureaucrat has to handle the political clusterfuck that is an American athlete dying in Dubai under mysterious circumstances.
I thought it would be great if he'd had, because it's like they make this whole big thing about his health, and because he gets into an accident, and then Ruben's like, I didn't know you were this injured from your first accident in the 90s. You could go blind, you could die, and so I was like, oh, maybe when he crosses... And his vision keeps getting blurry.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like you think he's gonna do it. Also, give Ruben the respect. He says it with this seriousness of Stilgar saying, like, you are the Muad'Dib.
Yeah.
I just, whenever a character says, like, you gotta let me do this last thing, if it's the last thing I'll ever do, I want it sometimes to be the last thing that he'll ever do.
And then I wasn't expecting him to go dune buggy racing in Mexico, because I'm like, weren't you, like, losing your vision in the last couple F1 races?
Also, you are now, like, the champion of, like, the most popular racing league on the planet.
Yeah. But no.
Well,
he just cares about the racing.
Yeah.
Well, because he's down to earth. That's why he goes back to the dune buggy. Which also brings me to maybe my favorite Star Trek fun fact, is that in the 10th Star Trek movie, Star Trek Nemesis, there is an elaborate dune buggy chase scene with, like, phaser machine gun turrets and everything. And the sole reason that is in the movie is because Patrick Stewart fucking loves dune buggies and demanded there's a dune buggy scene.
Hell yeah.
So, dune buggies are canonical in Star Trek because Patrick Stewart is an example of dudes rock.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is I cannot wait until we get all of the weird documentaries about Biden having dementia from conservative media.
Are they still on that?
I don't think anybody on the conservative side has the attention span to do that anymore.
Yeah.
We did get My Son Hunter, which is...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
They're really concerned about Hunter. Just let the man do